christiangeekcentral.com. All right, buckle up. This car has a spoiler. I just got out of a Brightburn, and man. So is there gonna be like a evil Justice League? That last teaser, like right after the credits, or right after the final title of the, right after he drops the mom from up in this stratosphere or whatever. and then we see the newscaster at the very end of all those bits of news footage and news stories showing him kind of on a rampage around the world or whatever. Then I didn't know what the guy was talking about. It was like something Michael Rooker, I think is the guy's name, who's been like a character actor in a bunch of stuff over the years. Usually a bad guy. Anyway, he is talking about, he's kind of like a conspiracy theorist guy, I guess, like, oh, what are we going to do about all these appearances of all these other people? And he first starts talking about this witch woman who's like strangling people. And it took me a little bit of putting together. I was like, oh, I think that's the horror version of Wonder Woman. And then they showed, like these other snapshots of other scary characters, that are cropping up. And he's like, we got to do something, if we don't do, we got to get our stuff together and do something, or they're going to kill us all, And one of the other images looked a little bit like an evil Flash type of character. And so, man, that could easily have just been like a little kind of joke, another little nod to just the wider world of superheroes, and what if they were all evil and stuff, and leave it at that. Or if this movie is successful enough, I could definitely see this becoming a horror franchise, which I didn't see coming. I thought it's enough that we live in this world where superhero movies are mainstream enough that you could do this kind of like twisted version of them that people would understand and get the gimmick and what you're doing, the spin you're playing around with. But it wouldn't take, I'll probably mention this in my review, but you don't need near as much budget to do a horror movie as a sci-fi action movie. And so I could see them much more easily greenlighting an expanded evil pseudo DC universe, Brightburn verse or whatever. Man. Anyway, so yeah, he killed the dad. I saw that was probably going to happen. I think from the trailers, I saw that there was enough of a volatile relationship, and I could see it developing over the course of the movie. There's enough of a volatile relationship that the dad's probably gonna die. Of course, as soon as he shot him in the back of the head, I was like, oh, it's over now. But the heat vision through the head, man, ugh. And there were some really brutal deaths in this. The heat vision through the head was probably the least brutal. The guy just getting his jaw cut off by the steering wheel, and then the woman getting a piece of ice in her, or not ice, glass in her eye. I mean, it was like, clearly they, that was kind of one of the things they were wanting to do with this movie, is like, let's come up with really creatively this gruesome deaths and scenarios, for people. Because there wasn't anything particular to the concept of this movie that would necessitate these particularly cringy, gory kinds of things going on, So that seemed to be something that they were definitely going for. But I actually thought the mom at the end would die by exposure to vacuum. I thought he would just take her all the way up. And because they showed that one picture in his notebook of him like hovering over the world and like blasting it with a big energy blast or something, is what that picture looked like. And so I thought it would kind of be a callback to that in the final moment, but instead, he just dropped her from really high up. But anyway, I suspected it was going to have a dark ending. Even when they did the foreshadow of the alien ship cutting him, I was like, okay, well, they're setting that up so that later on someone will get a piece of the ship, and that they'll be able to kill him. But there was something about the end where she was able to get that piece As soon as she got the piece from the ship and tucked it into her back pocket, I was like, nope, he's gonna live. Because, and this is where kind of like just being a longtime movie watcher kind of screws you over a little bit, because you know what beats to expect and what, so in this kind of movie, if she was going to be successful at killing him, it would have been much more last minute. Like, they might have even left the reveal that he could be hurt by anything to be at the very end of the movie. Like, maybe they would find themselves in the barn, and then she would be backed up against the ship, and he would too, and he would get cut by it for a second, and then she would suddenly realize, all this realization happening in the climax, oh, he can be hurt, oh, and then some more struggle, and then finally she pulls off killing him. But they set it up so early, and then she got the shard so early relative to the climax, that I was like, no, she's not going to be able to kill him, they're just trying to give us hope that she will. And I'm totally cool with it having this dark ending where the parents die and stuff. And, not only because, that's part of, what makes some horror movies satisfying, is that unsettling, ending. Satisfying is a weird word to use, but that's the word that comes to mind, so I'm using it. But it also, as I implied earlier, contributes to the setup of a expanded world, or at least a sequel to Brightburn, at least a Brightburn 2, So, yeah, I enjoyed this experience. It's not one that I need to, like, in hindsight, it's not one I would have needed to have seen in theaters. Like, it wasn't that great, but it's one that I definitely would have wanted to rent, and that I'll probably own at some point. Maybe not necessarily to watch again so much as to show to other people. Sometimes I like to have movies like that in my collection, and this is probably going to be one of those. Anyway, those are all my spoilery thoughts. Now I'll continue collecting the rest of my thoughts to get ready to do my review. Oh wait, I will also add that I think they tipped their hand a little bit early for me when he was in class talking about wasps, and how, like, certain types of wasps are aggressive and will force other, like, bees or other wasps or some other creature, they will force them to raise their young. And so that was really kind of tipping their hand, I thought, a bit early. It was a nice setup, but again, I think that's probably only going to be for people who are kind of evaluating the movie from the meta angle, just because they've seen enough horror movies or other movies before to recognize structure beats when they're happening. And that's a little unfortunate. That's an unfortunate side effect of just watching tons of movies over the course of your life. But anyway, yeah, what I would have liked to have seen more of was an exploration of the nature of the planet he comes from. Not necessarily the planet, but like the mission. Well, I don't know. I was really interested in, like, how much is he programmed? I thought with the wasp thing, I was like, are they setting him up to basically tell us later that he's essentially like a drone, like from a hive society, and they've just planted him here to, they're forcing humans basically to raise their young, and so I would believe that, and especially if it's like a different type of wasp relationship, because that would explain why he looks so human, but I just I wish there would have been a little bit more exploration of, like, why he was genuinely such a sweet kid in the first part of that movie, because there really is a shift, and I liked this about the movie. I think it fed into what became to me a theme, possibly unintended, about being a parent and watching your child, in this case a son, and I have two sons, one of which is like this kid, 11, turning 12, in just a few months my oldest will be 12. And, so for me there was this potential takeaway and theme that I think maybe on some level they were intentionally playing with, of how parents can feel like when their kids are reaching this certain age, like there's a disconnect from them, and like they don't understand who they are anymore, and like they're just behaving differently, or they're becoming more withdrawn, and so I think that there's definitely some parallels there, and I wish it would have been explored. Like, one thing I thought they might do is have this thing that, you know, kind of seems to turn on when he turns 12. It's almost like a switch goes off and he starts turning into the alien that he always was, that's basically wired to take over the planet and be evil and all that stuff. I guess I wanted some justification for either why he was such a sweet kid or why this change was happening. I wanted them to explore, like, was him being a sweet kid in the first 10, 11 years of his life, was that real? Or was that all just like something that was being put on or some kind of like something in his wiring, in his programming, that made him susceptible intentionally to the influence of whatever life forms would raise him, but, you know, only in a temporary and superficial way. You know, I guess I wanted that change to be explored a little bit more, because one direction they could have gone, getting back to what I was going to say earlier, is that this could have been programming of some kind from his, you know, home species alien race that he could fight if he wanted to, you know. At the end, you know, right before he kills his mom, even though, you know, there's questions, I suppose, as to whether or not she really meant this or not, she was saying, I believe there is good in you, you know. So is that true? Did she believe that was true? And was it, in fact, true? I mean, in this movie, I don't think it was. And I even wonder if his mom at that point didn't really believe that, because she was already prepared to kill him. It's possible that she could have been thinking to herself, yes, there is good in him, and that's just how I want to remember him, so let's end this now. You know, maybe it was that kind of beat. So I don't know what the intention was for what the mother was actually thinking there. But anyway, yeah, I wish there would have been more of an exploration of that. Because it does make me wonder. I think we're supposed to believe, yes, his true, like, who he truly was this evil alien. So what was up with him being such a good boy? You know, and having what seemed like really genuine affection and love for his parents up until that age. And, you know, I think maybe another writer, or maybe in another version of the script, maybe they could have explored that some more, but they didn't. I wish they would have. Anyway, okay, now I think that exhausts all of my spoilery thoughts, but yeah, I did definitely enjoy this one. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.